Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie. On tonight's show, we're going to be covering the torrid start of the New York Yankees as well as the Los Angeles Dodgers. My Yankees did catch an L tonight, but you can't beat every team every night. 4 straight series wins I will most definitely take. We're going to hit on the NBA playoff picture as well as the NHL as both seasons come to a conclusion very soon. John Cena and The Rock, 2 WWE Hall of Famers and legends. Absolute legends. They have not been inducted yet. They will when they retire. Point is, they both made an appearance on Monday Night Raw, and we're going to speak on the 2 different directions that their characters are going to be going in 2024. And on a big chunk of tonight's show, and something I'm looking forward to, we're going to hit on to trade back, stay put, or to trade up. We're going to let you know what's up with all that with the teams in the top 10 and beyond as we see what they should do in the upcoming 2024 NFL Draft. With me tonight, I've got my man, Mr. Idris Salam, a.k.a. Bosco from the Bronx.
Yo.
Good to see you. How you doing, bro?
Back again after a short hiatus.
Much shorter than the last hiatus.
Yeah.
Got the tail end of seeing you work up on Casual Convo. My truck time is a couple of minutes ahead. So I actually thought you were done, and I'm like, oh, snap, I'm on the air.
So good, man.
Yeah.
Come one, come all.
Coco was having some fun with me. She said, you got to stop interrupting us.
Yeah. She's the one that put you on speaker, too.
Oh, of course she did. I know it. Out in San Antonio, Texas, our guy, Mr. Mike Zappi.
Man, it just feels good to finally break a 3-game losing streak because the last time we had a 3-game losing streak was in the ALCS. And yesterday we made Langoliers look like a freaking future Hall of Famer with his 3 home runs. Oh, hey, no, we're back on the win column, but hey, the Astros keep losing, so I guess it's cool.
Yeah. Always
the
a good
Astros
thing.
keep losing, and that is always cool. That is always cool on this show. Langoliers was also a dope Stephen King flick back in the day, book first.
The funny thing, when Zappy put that in the thread, the Langoliers, I was like, wasn't that a movie?
Yeah.
Right.
King was the
realize
first.
who he was talking about. I was like, the dude who played for,
Devout Boston Red Sox fan, Stephen King as well.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We're watching the game and I'm just like, who is it? Like Langoliers? Like who?
Yeah.
Like it was literally Langoliers 4, Texas 3.
Langolier,
That was the score.
That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, it really is.
And by the way, to have a 3-game losing streak in the ALCS and to still walk away with a win, that is good stuff. Not a lot of teams can say that. The Boston Red Sox, sadly, are one of the teams that can say that. Just for a little history tidbit, not our finest series. We're going to hit it on the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers, setting pace for Major League Baseball. In your opinion, panel, which team's start is more impressive?
I'm going with my Yankees, man. Because the Dodgers, who I hate, they're stacked to the rim. Mm-hmm. They got every player you need to win with. They got every whatever. They supposed to win. So we're without our ace. We got Mr. Ness filling in. I didn't expect us to start out 10-3.
No,
I saw us struggling out the gate. Like I did not expect us to just run down to Houston. Just
I do a backflip if our Giants started 10-3.
Yeah, I thought we'd walk out of Houston maybe 1-3. I thought by our first 10 games, I was looking at 4-6 maybe.
Yeah,
I didn't think we'd do that well.
Yeah, I mean you're playing the defending National League champions and the American League runner-up in consecutive series on the road over 7 games. Yeah, I didn't have the highest expectation, especially, hour and a half into our season, we were down 4-0. No, not by any means.
Right.
But my God, Juan Soto. To answer my end of this, I'm with you, Idris, for the same reasons. When you're missing the reigning Cy Young Award winner of the American League, when you're missing a premier setup man for the whole season now, as Jonathan Loaiziga has no other choice but to finally get surgery. And, with an offense previous years that has not really produced consistently outside of Aaron Judge and in certain spurts, Giancarlo Stanton and Gleyber Torres, it has been an overall team effort. You're going to lose a game here and there to teams that you're not supposed to. Tonight was one of them, but it's another series win. It's 4 consecutive series wins, and they're getting ready to take on the Cleveland Guardians in what should be an early season marquee matchup as the Guardians are on first in the American League Central. Mike Zappi, your thoughts? What is the better start thus far more impressively?
I mean, I could make a case for both teams, really. You look at, like you guys said, the Dodgers have a more stacked team. Yankees, there was a lot of change. What's going to happen without Garrett Cole in the lineup? How was Carlos Rodon going to finally respond to finally playing there? But, whenever you're putting together this many pieces the way the Dodgers have, sometimes you run into the issues of chemistry whenever you have that many hot shots, but they've made it work. We see what Tyler Glasnow did last night with 14 Ks and under 90 strikes, first time in MLB history.
I am glad I drafted that guy.
So he's not the Dodgers are not pitching it. He's doing that. So, I have to tip my hat off to those guys because also the Dodgers do have the top 3 hitters in Major League Baseball right now. But again, whenever you stack the team like that, yes. But for the Yankees to have to open up in Houston and then where was the second place you had to go to?
Arizona.
Was it Toronto?
Arizona.
Yeah, to start off the first 7 games on the road and to come out of there with 1 loss, I mean, that already is enough. And then to go head-to-head with Toronto and take, 2 of 3, and then to go head-to-head of, everyone's like, well, Florida's won 2 games this year. Who cares? They were still in the playoffs last year. Baseball is still early, but you got to win these games. And I got to say the more impressive start is definitely the Yankees, just because, when you put it all together, no matter what, Juan Soto still had to go there. He still had to blend with Aaron Judge, and they have blended perfectly. And it's actually shadowed the really bad start that Judge has had.
Yeah. Yes, Zappi. And it's something that I kind of expected. We had this conversation actually this morning, if I'm not mistaken. Aaron Judge definitely getting overshadowed by the new acquisition. The guy that's benefiting the most in the early going outside of Oswaldo Cabrera is just benefiting because he put a lot of work in the offseason. But Giancarlo Stanton is definitely benefiting from the addition. I believe that Aaron Judge is pressing a little. If there's something for me to critique in the early going, I can start there. I do think that he's pressing just a bit. But he's never been known for having torrid Aprils. Usually when May comes around is when Aaron Judge starts getting into full bloom. So nothing to see here yet. If we were losing and this was happening, maybe a different conversation. But when I look around the American League in the early going, the Baltimore Orioles, they're off to a decent start too. It's just when you have a team like the Yankees and a team like the Dodgers that are starting the way they are, it's going to get overshadowed. But Baltimore still looks very much so like the team that won the American League East last year and was a 1 seed.
You know what? The thing about it, we're closing games too. But it's a team you might want to talk about. I hate them. Red Sox are pretty good too.
They're good, but they've taken some big hits recently.
On the injury front, Trevor Story is a terrible loss.
Yeah. It's a terrible loss, but but Corey had a good point too. Who have they played to start off the season? And yes, it is a 162 game season. You're not going to pop the champagne after 12 games, whatever.
Right.
But level of competition has still been a lot better for the Yankees as opposed to the Red Sox.
True that. What's up, Coco? True that.
Casual convo. Coco, sorry for calling at the very end of your show. I thought you guys were ready off the air. I was in a bit of a traffic jam, so I think my distraction level was at a little bit more of a high. I was going to mess around, but like, this is sports vlog. But yeah, the Dodgers. I do want to hit on them too. Shohei Ohtani's under an extreme amount of pressure just because of the negative stuff that's going on around the camp. His former translator is actually really like under the microscope now as the feds are getting involved with him. And, this is going to be a legitimate prison time. We're going to find out as the story evolves more and more if Shohei is as squeaky clean as he claims to be. But as the team goes, Corey said it best the other day on the show. From a historic standpoint, this is one of the greatest lineups in the history of Major League Baseball. When you've got guys like Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Shohei Ohtani, just to name a few. And, you get an acquisition like a Tyler Glasnow, just like the Yankees are missing Garrett Cole, those guys are missing their ace too, and Clayton Kershaw. So, you got to give credit where it's due. If there was ever a year where people are supposed to pick the Dodgers, for sure, this is the year. But, a lot of baseball to be played. It just, to Zappy's point earlier, we're talking off air, it just seems like so much has happened already in such a short amount of time. We've already seen a no-hitter. We've seen Giancarlo Stanton tonight hit a home run against every major league team because he was formerly a member of the Marlins. He hit one against them, all 30 teams in a losing effort.
We've seen 2 guys already hit 3 home runs in a game.
That doesn't happen every year.
That does not happen every year. And another thing we've seen is the injuries going up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the injuries are going up. The pitch clock has been brought up in recent reports about a lot of guys. This is leading to more injuries. This was a concern of you and I, Zappy, when the pitch clock first got introduced, and we did a show, a little over a year ago. And is there a correlation? Maybe. I mean, I don't think it's a very natural thing for guys to make those arm motions and to have to be on a timer, so to speak. So in that regard, I don't like it.
No, yeah, and we talked about that because, as a pitcher, the one of the best things about baseball was always the mental aspect. The pitcher messing with the hitter.
Kind of time down and play the mental game.
Yeah.
Right, but a lot of the time, your body still needs those extra 5-7 seconds, whatever, to recover. And whenever you have been training your body to be a certain way your whole life, and then you get drafted and have to do a complete change. I mean, this is muscle memory we're talking about.
Yeah.
And, that's I think that's a huge reason why, because now we're talking about you're putting so much strain to the elbow area for these pitchers. And especially when we talk about the amount of torque that needs to go into certain pitches, a curveball, for example. I mean, man, like it's just, we're going to see more injuries. And that's what sucks because we saw baseball, they're making it more fun. They're putting more butts in the seats. Just like football, they're making it safer, but we've seen more injuries with quarterbacks. We're seeing more injuries with pitchers, and that's the sad part about it.
And I'm going to cross it over to football to piggyback off your point. I have never seen so many non-contact injuries, even in the most violent era of football, or at least the most violent era in my time, because people that saw the 70s would say it was more crazy than the 80s, and with good reason, because you had guys like Jack Tatum back there. But the point to be made is this is problematic because you're losing not just pitchers, but like the best of the best. Shohei Ohtani, people forget, is also a pitcher, and he's not pitching this year. Garrett Cole, marquee guy. He's not going to be back until mid-June, and there's no guarantees when he comes back. Spencer Strider, Clayton Kershaw. These are premier guys, and not just premier guys, but for some of the best teams in all of MLB. So, this might have to be renegotiated and rehashed with the CBA to get some kinks on this. Will be interesting to see how it goes.
I never liked the pitch clock anyway.
That's the thing that I always thought was great about baseball was that there was no time limit.
Yeah, the mind games,
And even all right. So I've been to 4 games the last few
welcome,
weeks.
bro. How you doing?
So yeah, no, like I've been to 4 games. One of them was the Bananas. All right, so I went to the Yankees Astros game. I've been to the Rangers Astros twice already. And the one thing I love is sitting there watching the pitcher batter part, and forcing the batter to step out of the box. That that's, and the fact that we're not seeing that as much, it's like, all right, come on. And now the batter's even watching the clock. All right, 5. All right, timeout. So it's like it's still slowing the game down in a certain way, but yeah, I mean, again, we're old school. We're a big thing. You got to be agile. We'll adjust, but
Jay Bear says he likes the clock. I'm not sure if you were with us a couple of seconds before commenting, Jay Bear, but we were getting at the injuries, UCLs, mainly things to do with the elbow, and questioning if the pitch clock is contributing to that. And it's going to be something that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Zappy, Idris, anything you guys want to add to the baseball portion of the convo before we move it along to the NBA?
I just don't like the Dodgers. They will not win the World Series.
I got to say one thing, especially if it's in regards to baseball. I remember we were making a division preview, talking pitcher, Cy Young, things like that, and I made a quick mention of the Kansas City Royals. That team is coming together quick. They look good. They might be the team that is actually challenging the Guardians for that division based on seeing all that youth come together with Bobby Witt, seeing Cole Reagans and his pitching. Like, that team is, watch out for Kansas City. They might finally be here.
Yeah, the Royals are definitely an exciting team right now. Another surprise this year, and a team that I think that deserves a little recognition, is the Cleveland Guardians. Once again, they lost Shane Bieber, one of the more mediocre divisions in all of baseball, so they were not exactly highly touted this year. However, they were my prediction and my pick to win that division. And the Yankees are going to play them. So that's going to be a good test for both sides because, for the Guardians, it's the Yankees coming into town. And there's a lot of history with that rivalry over the years of many playoff matchups. And for the Yankees, they're going to be like, okay, well, can't go into that sleeping because that's not the easiest place to go in and take a series. And there's nothing wrong with the Baltimore Orioles. They have a fine nucleus. Jackson Holiday getting called up. That is awesome as well. We're going to move it along to the NBA. Idris and our New York Knicks recently jumped to the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Giannis of the Milwaukee Bucks dealing with an injury. Warriors moving to top of the play-in list. West 1 seed still very much up for grabs between 3 particular teams. I'll start with the Knicks here. After that 3-game losing streak, I didn't really feel that we were going to be able to get to the 3 seed with this little time left in the year. So it is encouraging. Knicks' next game is going to be a big matchup with the Boston Celtics, a team that we have not been able to defeat this year, and a team that on most metrics is the best team in the NBA, including record-wise. But I've said this in previous weeks. The New York Knicks have to avoid playing in that 4 versus 5 matchup if they want to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah. And with a recently injured Giannis and with a Milwaukee Bucks team that's been on a perpetual slide since making the coaching change over to Doc Rivers, I actually, as a Knick fan, am feeling quite confident, even without Julius Randle, that this Knicks team can indeed make the Eastern Conference Finals. The story might end there, but it is definitely a beautiful step in the right direction. As the Celtics go, I want them to play Atlanta. Atlanta gives them fits. This Giannis injury, you got to monitor it. I think the Milwaukee Bucks are doing the right thing by shutting him down right now, kind of just holding tight for the playoffs, but I don't feel good about Milwaukee. Ever since winning that NBA title, and to be frank, I think they made a huge boo-boo by changing the coach that brought them their first title in 50 years. They got 3 coaches on payroll still, which is miraculously weird. Zappy, your Warriors moving on up into the more manageable part of the play. And how do you feel about your team's chances of making some noise and doing what they do in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, the first thing they need to do is the Warriors, they're still the 10 seed, but they control their own destiny. The Lakers have one less game than them left. The Warriors win out, then they will be at least the 9th seed. If the Kings win another game, then the Warriors can jump them as well. This Warriors team has definitely been playing great basketball. I mean, watching them the other night play against Dallas, and that was a back and forth game where the Warriors could have easily won that one. Lost a hard-fought game, but other than that, I mean, we've been saying if there's a team going into the playoffs you don't want to see, it's the Golden State Warriors, and they are playing very good basketball right now. I mean, they are awake, and we haven't seen them be awake in a long time, even with Draymond's antics that he's been doing, even with Klay Thompson getting benched and being back to the starting role, all the amount of adversity this team has been having to face. You know, we saw the Chiefs' adversity. Just saying.
I mean, dude, if the Miami Heat could be an 8 seed, only the second one in NBA history to make the NBA Finals, the original 8 seed to do it was the 99 New York Knicks. Why can't the Golden State Warriors do it? They have a better coach, a better championship pedigree than Spo. Let me take that back. Better roster in the Heat case, better championship pedigree than the 99 Knicks case, but there's no reason to believe that the Golden State Warriors are not capable.
And really, if you look at the NBA, it's Denver, obviously defending champs. You cannot take that away from them until they are officially knocked out. But it's supposed to be Boston. So every team going into this play-in / the playoffs is saying the exact same thing. Why not us? All you got to do is get hot at the right time.
Well, I'm gonna flip this. I'm gonna flip this to Idris for a second. Mm-hmm. Last year's Nuggets, right, winning the NBA title, their first in franchise history. Do you feel that some folks kind of like overlook it because of the fact that they didn't play the Celtics, that they played, let's face it, a team that got hot, but a team that was not by any metric elite outside of some of the big game Jimmy moments? Jimmy Butler had a hell of a playoffs last year, but you know, Spo is a great coach. But do you think that some folks overlook what Denver did last year because of the fact of who they ended up playing in the finals?
Probably, but you know what? You beat who you play, who they put in front of you.
That's all you can do.
Denver ran through everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The team that's supposed to win, Milwaukee, Boston, they couldn't do it.
Organizationally, Milwaukee to me has really regressed after, I mean, they got their first title in 50 years. You had Middleton, you had Giannis. It was a cool story. First championship team. You got to go all the way back to the big O, Oscar Robertson, and Lou Alcindor. He wasn't Kareem Abdul-Jabbar yet. He didn't take up the Muslim faith yet.
You know what? I'm going to put this Milwaukee team like it. I remember when Kareem won with Milwaukee. I'm that old. And this team, the same thing. This team did the same thing that team did. So I remember that team. They had Brian Winters, Kareem, Junior Bridgman. Oh God, I forgot this. Forgot the.
If John Olsen was with us right now, he'd probably be able to fill out that roster too.
Yeah. Oh God.
Cool John Olsen story.
Yeah.
He's old enough to remember this stuff too. He during last year's NCAA tournament, he shared a story with me that when him and his wife were actually dating during his college years, they attended a Wisconsin Badger game against against Michigan State. And he got to see Magic Johnson in college bust up the Wisconsin Badgers. That's crazy.
That's wild.
That's
they had
crazy.
Bob Lanier back then. They won a
greatest point guard.
They broke the team
not just in NBA history,
yeah,
but outside of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, his Laker teammate, I think you can make a case that Magic Johnson is the second greatest college player of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And Zeke's not far behind, nor is Christian Laettner for that matter.
Yeah, forget Christian Laettner.
Yeah, you gotta give him his due. Though. I don't like him either.
Yeah, I give him his due. But
Oh.
anyway, and with Milwaukee, you get rid of that Budenholzer. He wins you a title. You bring in somebody else. You get rid of Drew Holiday. You send him on his way.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild.
Griffin had this team 30-13.
And they still felt something
you get rid of
wrong.
Him. You bring in Doc. Now they're like 15-14 or something, or 14-14.
You're just over halfway to 82. Do the math. That's a 60-plus win team on trajectory with that coach.
Yeah, and see that's what happens. Yeah. What's up?
Let me ask you guys this question.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look, before that, but I said about the Golden State Warriors a few months ago. I said, watch out.
Yeah.
And the first round is the most dangerous one, as far as I'm concerned, in recent NBA history. Go ahead, Zach.
They may not win a title, but
do we think a part of the problem with Milwaukee is also Dame?
I mean, it's worth questioning because I think
CJ McCollum might have been right.
Yep.
It reminds me, maybe not in the same metric, but a little bit of when Russell Westbrook went over to LA, because Dame is a phenomenal singular talent. I don't think anybody's ever going to question that. But what has Dame ever been able to win? And then it opens up that other questioning. Is he a winner? You have a lot of great players and scorers that have come in and out of this league. But there's a different metric that makes you a winner, and it's not always about supporting cast either. Is Dame a winner?
In Portland, he had a team until they broke that team up, but they can never get out of the first round.
No.
You are supposed to be the star player.
And that's when he was quote-unquote the dude. Now he's not necessarily option one, even though he does have his nights. I don't know, man. Sometimes
they finally did.
Guys that are not used to being second options. And if you look at the track record of NBA history where these things have happened, the only times that it truly works out is when the one option, it also happens to be a legitimate point guard. Because guys like Steph Curry were able to take the back seat to a Kevin Durant, things of that nature. Andre Iguodala coming off the bench, getting the MVP. Or Dwayne Wade is a good example of a two guard who took a step back for the betterment of his team. But make no mistake, LeBron James was the best player in Miami for those 4 seasons.
You know, it's funny you say that because there's one guy that I think of right now for the Warriors where he's the guy that might actually, if the Warriors go far, I think he could be the X factor, the MVP, and that's Chris Paul. Because now he doesn't have to be the guy anymore, and now he sits back. He's been playing great for the Warriors as of late.
Yes.
And you see, I mean, look at him last night, 26 threes as a team.
But you want to know why they brought him in addition to his basketball acumen and just, going through the battles and having a great mind for the game, is that he's unselfish.
Mm-hmm. That's what makes him so great.
And once again, to my point about point guards, recently, Magic Johnson was brought up as a subject, as a guy who could dominate a game without scoring a point. There were not too many people in the history of that league that could say that. Magic is on a short list. And once again, streaming out to the unselfish nature of his game. Mm-hmm. NBA playoffs are going to be great. I am very stoked about this, and we're going to be hitting you guys in the very near future with a playoff preview. We're going to give you our rundown of the first round. Yeah, go ahead, Idris.
There was a certain player who said, whoever created the playing game, that was a dumb idea.
Mm-hmm.
His name is LeBron James.
He's been included in the playoffs.
Had there not been a playing game,
we're not playing.
Had not been a playoff game the last 2 seasons, the Lakers would not be in a playoff.
After the Mickey Mouse coronation, he hasn't been able to do better than that.
Hey, leave the in-season tournament
champs alone. They can talk all this shit about Jordan and his final years. This is what I hate about these. Oh, you just opened it up. This is what I hate about these
season
LeBron
tournament
fans.
champs alone.
These LeBron fans love to talk shit about Jordan and his Washington years. I'm like, bro, first of all, Jordan didn't have a Carmelo Anthony, a Russell Westbrook, or Dwight Howard, all these other characters to fail with. And number two, he didn't have no damn play-in to get it.
No.
Leave.
Without the playing game, the
alone.
Lakers would be on the bench with the Portland Trailblazers.
That's what I'm saying, man. If he didn't get that bad finger injury from opening up, I think he was opening up like a bottle of wine. No, he's getting a cigar. Nah, Mike, come on. You're too graceful for that. Anyway, on to the NHL for a moment. And we're going to be following this with wrestling before we hit our second half of the show with draft talk. The New York Islanders finally beat in-state rivals, me and Idris's Rangers. That was the night before tonight. Rangers still atop the NHL mountain with 110 points. Only 3 left, and I'm looking at their schedule right now. Home for the Flyers, home for the Islanders, home for the Senators. I have no reason to believe that the Rangers aren't going to finish this thing up with home ice advantage with the best record in the NHL. And you know the worry. I've said it many times. I don't want the best record because of that damn curse on that damn President's Trophy. But the last time the New York Rangers won it all, they did have the best record in the NHL. And the guys they beat out in Vancouver, that is a magnetic kind of thing that looks like it could come to fruition. As the Rangers go, honestly, I think the biggest change with this year versus last year, it's not a talent thing. It's a coaching thing.
Yep.
Laviolette is the perfect guy for this Rangers team right now.
Yeah, I agree. Because in previous years, I mean, we had a down year too. The previous years, you get to the playoffs and just that's why I'm afraid about having the best record this year.
Or have a phenomenal team and play one too many games where when you get into that second or third round, you're already gassed. And that happened to us the year that we lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning back in 21. Way too early. We're going to be doing a hockey show as well. But as far as I'm concerned, right now, from what I'm seeing, if anybody that's lower seeded is going to go on a run and surprise people, I always have to respect the Washington Capitals for the simple fact that Alex Ovechkin is that damn good still.
That guy is a freaking beast.
Yeah, I don't ever sleep on him, even though they'll be coming in as a very lower-seeded team. And out west, which is more credible, got to watch out for the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
Even as an 8 seed or a 7 seed, they are very dangerous. And the West in hockey, the bottom teams, are their points are rather high for lower seeded teams. The West is stacked this year. The East is a little top heavy after like 5, but I still think this is the Rangers' year, and I'm not saying it because I'm a fan either. I just genuinely believe it. I've seen enough Ranger hockey to believe it this year.
Shout out to Ovechkin. What, 18 years in, something like that?
And that's a guy, and the Rangers have his number too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, but he's still playing at a high level, man. But I think I'm not worried about him though.
No, I'm not worried. I'm worried about 2 teams. I'm worried about the Florida Panthers, and I'm worried about the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't want to. Those 2 teams worry me to a level.
Vegas.
Well, out west, I'll worry about it if we get there. But yeah, out west, West is wide open, just like in the NBA. Dallas Stars could do it. The Colorado Avalanche could do it.
Yeah.
Before we hit on the NFL draft, I'm going to make a brief mention of this. The Rock and John Cena recently appeared on Monday Night Raw the day after WrestleMania. 2 different directions and character trajectories. The Rock is going back to Hollywood to do what he does. But he did get in the ring with Cody Rhodes and basically said, I will be back for you. He kind of trolled him a little, said that he wanted to hold his belt. Cody obliged. It was interesting. No fireworks, no punches, no nothing. A moment of an awkward respect. As John Cena goes, he came in as a mystery add-on for The Miz and R-Truth, and that was pretty damn cool. Cena recently on Pat McAfee said that he doesn't have a timeline on how soon he's going to call it quits, but he's trying to just get it all in the near future. So for the WWE marks out there, I believe that John Cena, get used to seeing a little bit more of him a little more frequently, because I think he's going to do one last run, and he only trails Ric Flair by one title. So it will be interesting to see how the WWE story writers. The product has gotten better under TKO and Triple H on creative. The Rock is also one of the bosses now, so that's a good thing for the company.
What was your reaction like when you saw? Did you watch it?
WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yes,
I did.
So when you heard the Undertaker's song, his theme, what was your reaction? Did you jump around like everyone else? And
it was awesome.
See him standing behind the Rock. Like, I didn't watch WrestleMania, but I saw that
I
highlight.
knew that he wasn't going to do the long stroll in, because it would have just taken the match off of its path. But I wasn't surprised that he was behind the Rock. But it was kind of funny how he just disposed of the Rock so quickly. The Rock got the better of Cena. It was really cool, man. And, WWE sometimes subliminally tries to pay homage to the better years, or yesteryear. With them carrying Cody Rhodes out of the ring and raising him, very similar to the events of Mania 10. Got to go way back in MSG. Mania 10 with Bret the Hitman Hart. They do pay homage to the past when they can. I got news for you. This was the greatest WrestleMania of all time, the way that they did it. Great storytelling. We are going to move it along to the NFL. All right. We're moving along to the NFL.
I was going to say, are we sure?
I wanted to make sure that I was checking out our comments. To trade back, to stay put, or to trade up, we will let you know what's up, starting with the team that picks first, the Chicago Bears. They have picks 1 and 9, but trading Justin Fields guarantees them taking Caleb Williams at 1, right?
I guess. Assume. Allegedly.
That's the pick. That's the pick.
Yeah. They're going to take Caleb. They'll take Caleb.
At 9, they could go a couple of different directions. You can go for Shonu. You can get the best receiver on the board. You could possibly combine a Brock Bowers with a very good tight end. They already have Nicole Kmet. Point is, the Bears have options at 9. But my goodness, if they get pick 1 wrong, it can set them back for years. And I think they're getting it wrong, because I don't think Caleb Williams should be going that high. That's just my opinion.
I don't either. He holds the ball too long. He's emotional.
He's very emotional.
He has he's Zach Wilson to me. I think he'll have a decent career.
God.
You don't ever want to get compared to that.
No, I mean, up here wise. Up here.
Zach Wilson is only like a couple of pegs above an Achilles Smith or a Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah, I'm talking about up here.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, he's soft up in the head, man. And you're going to play in a market like Chicago. There's these markets you don't want a weak-minded quarterback. Chicago, New York, Philly, Boston, even Dallas. You don't want a weak-minded quarterback. You gotta have
that attitude.
Yeah, no matter how good or bad you are, you better have this, because you're walking in those stadiums.
Less Mitch Trubisky's, less Caleb Williams, more Tommy Egan.
Look, it's gonna be Caleb. Let's. You don't do all this stuff. You don't.
Yeah.
Decline a trade from Washington for the number 2 pick, next year's first-round pick, the following year's first-round pick, and a second-round pick. You don't decline that trade unless I mean, we saw what happened when they passed on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. They took Mitchell Trubisky. We know why Ryan Poles has done what he's done with this team. It's been for Caleb Williams, the next guy. I mean, yes, when we look at the highlights of him outside the pocket throwing those incredible passes, great quarterback. But, again, this is stuff that does it translate to the NFL? Maybe, maybe not. But for Chicago, I think they need to trade up. They need to trade up number 9, because I think we're seeing a new formula in the NFL right now. And Houston laid it out last year by going all in to get C.J. Stroud and then turning around and flipping it and also getting Will Anderson.
That was nice how they played their cards.
And you got both your rookie of the years right there. If I'm Chicago, I am trading up. I'm trading up for one thing and one thing only. It's to land either one, Malik or Marvin Harrison. If they can go from 9 to 4, they will be able to land that receiver. And that's a spot where when I was thinking about Arizona, I think Arizona is a position where they would go back to 9 right there, especially if Chicago is willing to mortgage and trade away another first-round pick, because not saying it's going to work every year, but it worked for Houston. And if you're gonna take Caleb, just like we said for Justin Fields, you need to give him weapons.
It kind of makes trading Fields a little more forgivable, because I think that was the part of most football fans, even if you don't care about the Bears. Like, damn, it's kind of shitty the way they did him. He finally got weapons, and they're going to let him move on. And I thought he was playing very good football towards the second half of the year.
And really, I mean, look at them, man. They're defensively, they got better. Mm-hmm. Offensively, they bring in DJ Moore. They good acquisition. Cole Kmet's still there. They got better in the running game. No, whether it's Justin Fields or Caleb Williams, we kept saying you need to get a weapon. Yeah. And if you can trade up from number 9 to number 4, get your weapon.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, and we're going to keep moving along and combing through some of these other teams. Next would be the Patriots. Many in need. Can they make will they make a king's ransom with trading back out of the 3 spot? I'm just going to make my point crystal clear. I don't think they're moving.
No.
After historically bad performances from Mac Jones last year, whether it's J.J. McCarthy or Drake May, I think they are staying put at 3, and they're going to draft themselves a quarterback.
I think they're drafting May.
I hope you're right.
I think they're drafting May.
Unless if Minnesota blows them away, which it wouldn't make sense for Minnesota to trade up to 3.
No, more expensive.
Get up to 4. Yeah, then they just need to get to 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. For New England, unless if they can find a desperate suitor, and that would probably have to be Denver. But again, this is a Denver team that mortgaged their future for Russell Wilson, and now are they going to mortgage their future even more to move up and grab a JJ at 3 to guarantee, or maybe it's Jaden Daniels, maybe it's Drake May, we don't know. If I kind of have a feeling
Denver's going to go with the flow more and see what they can get in later rounds.
Remember, Denver's still paying Russell Wilson, what, $38 million, something like that?
$85 million. $85 million. But for the Patriots, they might like Michael Penix. And if you know a lot of teams have Michael Penix as the second-rated quarterback. So, and if you're the New England Patriots and you want Michael Penix, you trade back. You obviously trade back.
Because you're not going to have him running. He'll be more of the pocket presence, because he cannot function at the best level in the NFL if he's going to be a running guy. And that's the point that you and Idris are driving home in a recent show about why the Giants wouldn't mess with Penix. Los Angeles Chargers is a team that also needs guys that can catch the football. Zappy and I have spoken on recent shows about the importance of Harbaugh's offense featuring tight ends. So there was an inclination to me, maybe, that these guys would be a decent trade partner with either the New York Jets or the Minnesota Vikings. Why do I mention the Jets? The Jets might want Joe Alt because Tyron Smith is on borrowed time. He is a good free agent acquisition, but he's on borrowed time. Mm-hmm. Joe Alt is the cream of the crop in terms of tackles in this draft. Mm-hmm. But yet again, as the Chargers go, they can stay put, get themselves a Malik Neighbors or a Rome Odunze, whoever they like more. Personally, I think they would go Neighbors. They draft back, they can get themselves a Brock Bowers. Not to mention the reason why we keep bringing up Minnesota, and I'm going to cheat ahead here just to show the viewers what they're holding. Will they trade up? Zappy made a suggestion to me today that if the New York Giants, and we'll go to them for a moment, wide receiver 1, quarterback 1, cornerback 2, would it be wise to trade back or stay put? I think the right answer for that depends on what they're looking at to pick before we could decide if it makes sense to trade back. But I will say this, Zappy and I were in agreement on this. If J.J. McCarthy is there, the Minnesota Vikings might be worth approaching to see if you can snag 11, 23, and a future draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Giants are in a position to get themselves a Brock Bowers. Maybe get themselves, I don't know. What would you do with 23? If I'm the Giants, I'm getting a Keon Coleman. Maybe Worthy. Maybe Thomas. But I'm definitely getting the best receiver on the board at 23, and I'm going Bowers at 11 if he's still on the board.
So I'm going to answer this for both the Chargers and the Giants because I think both of them, this relates to both teams. All right, so for the Chargers, first of all, they're sitting there at number 5. You look at this team, what do they need the most? They need a left tackle, they need pass catchers, whether tight end or receiver. There's 3 big-name receivers, there's 2 big-name tackles, and there's 1 big-name tight end, 6 positions. So if you're going to trade back, you move back as far as 11. The Giants, same thing. They need receivers. They need a tackle. Because I'm sorry, I'm not sold on Evan Neal.
Evan Neal is not even going to be lining up to tackle this. He's going to be right next to Andrew Thomas.
Yeah.
Right. And so for the Giants, it's like, all right, if you're trading back, it's because A, J.J. McCarthy is gone, and B, well, we could still land one of these guys, whether it be probably it's going to be Odunze or Brock Bowers, or you go get a Fashanu, or you get Joe Alt, whichever one is left. So that's why I look at the Chargers and the Giants as if they're going to trade back, they trade back to 11. That's the furthest you go back. Now, if either team is able to acquire number 23, it's a good position for the Giants or the Chargers, again, to move back because we know one team, Super Bowl winners, they need a left tackle. They need a tackle bad, and they know that they need to get ahead of number 25, the Packers, number 24, the Cowboys. And if they can get to number 23, the Giants would be in a position where they can trade back to number 32, still acquire another third. And now you're talking about filling in pieces because we know there's a lot of depth. And that's where you get an Xavier Worthy.
I think the best thing for the Giants to do is to approach this as if they're making maneuvers for 2 consecutive seasons, because you're not going to fix everything in 1 year. However, I do like the defense for the most part. You got to give the offense the most love in this particular draft. Idris, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Our MetLife rivals, the New York Jets, it goes without saying they're in need of another receiver because Mike Williams cannot be trusted from a health-based standpoint. No. It's a 1-year prove-it deal. He might ball out, but it's a 1-year prove-it deal. Mm-hmm. We know why they need an offensive tackle.
Yeah,
Tyron Smith, not a spring chicken, and you can't. And then neither is Aaron Rodgers, and neither is Tyrod Taylor. Mm-hmm. Those are their 1s and their 2s at quarterback. Do you got these guys trading up from 10 to possibly 6 or something in that? Because I, as a Giant fan, considered, do we even potentially make a deal with our MetLife mates?
I think they'll trade up, man, because they got to have one or the other, and they can't sit there and wait for someone to drop. Neighbors, Harrison Jr.
I don't see Odunze getting past the Falcons either.
Nah, they're going Turner. They're going Edge.
Yeah. I think Odunze. I think all 3 will drop.
It's
not far. I think they'll be gone by 10, but I think
it really depends who trades back.
Yeah, because the Chargers need a receiver. So one of them is going to be going to Odunze or
I just think Neighbors makes too much sense for the Chargers. I really do.
Yeah, I think so
too. Check this out. If I think there's a team that Malik Neighbors makes sense for, it's actually the New York Jets for a couple of reasons. One, he's going into a team with an established number 1 wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. Secondly, he's going into a team that has arguably the greatest. He's going into a team that has an established defense, a good head coach. He's not going to need to be the guy.
Right.
If I'm the Jets, I mean, if you want some drama on draft day, why wouldn't the Jets try to trade up and put the Giants into the position where they trade up to 5 to take Malik Neighbors?
Yep.
Because I think that Malik Neighbors fits perfectly in over there with Green on him. Yep. Take Malik Neighbors, and now J.J. McCarthy is sitting there at number 6. And what if Malik Neighbors is actually the Giants' number 1 choice on their draft board, followed by J.J. McCarthy? but you have Minnesota. There's a lot of things that could happen with this, but I think in order for if the Jets are going to trade up, it's going to be for either Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison, and they know they have to get ahead of the New York Giants. The Chargers, we know they want to trade back, and we also know they're content with staying put. So if the Jets offer up, offer up something, they kept their first round pick. First of all, that's a glorious thing. If there's one good thing to look at from Aaron Rodgers' Achilles, but their next pick is the 72nd overall. If you're making a pick, you're going to trade that 72nd overall pick, and you're going to move up to get yourself Malik Neighbors, set up Aaron Rodgers. You got Tyron Smith there. You bought yourself the time. This is such a deep draft where you can even get yourself a good tackle in the 4th round. So that's why this team, if you're going to draft a tackle to grow, you draft them to the New York Jets. Let them learn from Tyron Smith. He's going to get his playing time, but that's why.
Hot take coming across your screen on my behalf. Jordan Travis to New Orleans, Joe Milton to the New York Giants. If they don't just sit there and snag McCarthy. He fits the system. He's big-bodied. He has a rocket arm and can run some. What are the weaknesses, in my opinion? He has to get better with his progressions.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do think that on certain metrics, he could fit the Dable offense. Jordan Travis, believe it or not, could also fit. But because of the injury history with him especially, I don't see the Giants even entertaining him. But I do believe that New Orleans presents a nice situation because of the fact that he could legitimately take his time, because Derek Carr is not going to lose his job tomorrow.
Feeding off what Zappy said about Neighbors, I agree with the Jets because it's the Aaron Rodgers factor. You got a guy up here, you got that Pro Bowl quarterback, you got a guy who knows what he wants. You got Mike Williams, you got Brees Hall, you got a squad, so he doesn't have to be that guy.
And Zappy made a good point off air about this shit too. Mm-hmm. If you look at Aaron Rodgers' history, or even like going in with his OC Nathaniel Hackett, tight end is not a featured position. Right. Never has been. That's that, and the reason I mentioned that kind of eliminates Brock Bowers, or maybe even later in the draft, a Jatavian Sanders or somebody of that girth.
And that's a good consolation prize if you have to stay there at 10. If Roma Dunze, if Malik Neighbors, if Marvin Harrison are all gone, if Fashanu and Joe Alt are gone, then you go get Brock Bowers, because if there's one thing I could say about
the guy's a great blocker too. How could that hurt?
Well, and we live in the league where when Jermichael Finley was coming out of the University of Texas, the tight end position was starting to transition where they're more hybrid. If there's one thing about Brock Bowers, is the guy can block, the guy can line up out wide, he can line up in the slot. The guy is a very agile player. So if you end up with a Brock Bowers, I think that's a pretty good consolation prize for Aaron Rodgers personally. But I do think they want Malik Neighbors. I think if they're going to trade up, it's going to be for Malik Neighbors, not Roma Dunze. It's going to be for Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison.
So it's not for Joe Alt.
No, I don't think it's for Joe Alt. I think because of how deep this specific class is, and you don't give Tyron Smith the contract you gave him to go draft a tackle in the 1st round to sit for a year. You go, if they didn't sign Tyron Smith, yes, it'd be you trade up to
they got Smith for 2 years, right?
2 years.
Yeah.
So that's why Alt doesn't get past Tennessee.
No, Joe Alt's going to Tennessee. Tennessee is taking a left tackle. Whether it's Joe Alt or Fashanu, they're going tackle. With all the acquisitions the Tennessee tight ends have made, and you are they've kind of put in the all-in as well with Will Levis. I mean, you got to protect them.
You got to shift your running back in Tony Pollard, so you need your tackle.
Yeah. Ever since Taylor Lewan has left that team, that also is what affected Ryan Tannehill in the passing game. No, they're going to go Joe Alt. The Jets, they can get their tackle later. They can get their tackle, even if they trade away a 1st for next year. They can get their tackle later in this draft. They need to get Aaron Rodgers. All we ever heard throughout his whole career, he's never been surrounded by 1st-round talent. You give him 2 first-round receivers and a 2nd-round receiver and Mike Williams. You give him that, a future Hall of Famer, and
got a good running back back there too.
You got Brees Hall back there and a damn good defense.
And I wouldn't be surprised if midway through the draft, the Jets add another guy. You know who would make some sense for the Jets, in my opinion? maybe getting the kid out of Notre Dame, maybe. Audric Estime, he might make sense. He might make sense.
Estime.
Estime? That's how you pronounce it?
It's Estime, yeah.
Is it really? Okay.
Audric Estime, yes.
Why?
There's supposed to be a hyphen or whatever over the
You're going to estimate his stats? Yeah. All right.
It's Audric, and yes, he would, because he would be the thunder to Breece Hall's lightning.
That's what I'm getting
definitely
at.
Would. Yeah, he definitely would.
Okay. I think Richie froze.
Oh, we lost Richie. Okay.
Yeah, we lost Richie. Well, we can continue. Oh, there you go.
No, he's back. He's back. There he is.
Okay, there we go. Minnesota Vikings, as we said before. Fellas, who is the best trade partner in both your opinions for the Minnesota Vikings? Idris, go ahead. Who do you?
I said the Giants.
Zappy suggested if it's McCarthy. It's McCarthy, I do think that could happen.
But you know what? When Minnesota, Penix Jr. is good for that offense.
You guys made a good point, and they don't have to trade up for any of that.
Yeah.
They can stay right where they are.
I'm not a fan of Bo Nix, but Bo Nix is good for that.
They could go get like a Terry and Arnold and get Penix on the second pick around.
You guys remember 2015? Was it maybe 2014? I can't remember what year it was. There's the possibility that quarterback goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's not Minnesota that moved up to.
Well, Arizona would have to get out of that 4 spot because they're not drafting a quarterback.
Right, exactly. No. So, but what I'm saying
that would be assuming they trade.
If with the assumption that Arizona trades back, quarterbacks 1, 2, 3, 4, Chargers sit tight, choose best receiver.
Yeah,
the Giants could still trade back with the Vikings because, as we said, Michael Penix fits what? 2 teams, the Vikings and the Giants. Yeah. I mean, I could see him going to the Giants. I could see him.
I don't see him go to the Giants.
No, I don't think he's ideal for Daboll's system.
But the Giants can wave him around like if they're interested in him.
Oh, gotcha.
And then that's where you increase the draft equity because we saw teams like the Buffalo Bills trade up for EJ Manuel.
Oh my God!
So I'm not calling that dude. I'm not calling Michael Penix EJ Manuel by any means. I think he's a better passer than all his quarterbacks.
So I never thought EJ Manuel was going to make it anyway.
No, I didn't either. But my point is, in a quarterback-driven league, a team like the Vikings, they could be pressured to give up number 11 and 23 and future assets, especially there's 4 quarterbacks taken, and the Giants could be in prime position to be able to do it.
Now, in terms of my hot take here, do you think Joe Milton even fits into what he could potentially, his ceiling could be with Big Blue?
No, Joe Milton would be drafted to the Cowboys in the 3rd round.
Wouldn't surprise me.
And I don't say that jokingly. Like
no, it wouldn't surprise me.
No, I don't think you're joking. They got to start thinking about life after Dak.
That's what we're going after. No, I think I would
still
have to, whether it's Trey Lance or not, after this year, all 3 quarterbacks are free agents.
Yeah.
Zappy, did you have something you requested on a private?
Oh yeah, I gotta send a shout out, man. Obviously we know the University of Connecticut as well as University of South Carolina are the men's and women's NCAA basketball champs. Mm-hmm. But man, I gotta send the shout out to Dan Hurley, the head coach of UConn. This guy took the job and said, "I'm here to build a dynasty." Mm-hmm. The guy took a bad UConn team, a UConn team with history, especially when we look at the previous coaching staff.
Yeah.
But, he took over a team first year, 16-17, and you look at how he progressively got them better. And then he takes this roster last year, a 31-18, and they go on and win the national championship, blow out everyone in the tournament by 15 or more points, including the title game. And fast forward to this year, not an entirely new roster, but a lot of new players. And for them to go out and go 37-3 on the season.
And do the same thing, blow through the competition.
And blow through everyone by 15 or more points. Dan Hurley, hats off to you, bud. Great job.
Yeah.
Last thing, gents.
It's crazy how UConn has passed Carolina and Duke for championships.
Yeah, it's crazy that the University of Connecticut men's and women's basketball teams are 17-1 in the last 18 championship games.
Another thing worth mentioning. Another thing worth mentioning before we get out of here: the women's tournament actually had better ratings than the men's. That doesn't happen every year. That is very impressive. And the WNBA cannot squander this opportunity. They got to do it right, getting some of these new faces in there. I do want to ask you guys this before we get out. Rashee Rice is looking at 8 charges. Is he done in KC as well as in the league?
Yep.
The fact that I knew the arrest warrant was going to come out.
Yeah.
It was going to come out, but there's a lot of felony charges on here. That's the part.
The way that he downplayed it and was like,
my bad.
And not to mention that he casually just walked away like no fucks given.
Like,
yeah, right. So I don't.
Ruggs.
This ain't good, and it's a little too close, as we stated on a recent show,
Henry
the Henry Ruggs catastrophe.
Yep.
We will keep you guys in the know on this. Go Knicks, go New York Rangers, and go New York Yankees. And we're going to be back soon.
And
NBA
Texas Rangers
playoff preview on the horizon, and an NBA playoff preview as well as our mock draft show. For Zappy, for Idris, I am your host, Richie. Thank you for staying up late and hanging with us. We out.